We're building tomorrow,
but we're human today,
where technology meets us,
and ideas lead the way. From business to connection, from vision into sound,
we turn the boldest ideas
into something real and loud. The synthetic echo,
where human meets machine.
Create it, build it, grow it,
Push beyond what you have seen.
The synthetic echo, the future starts right here.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you're listening, what time you're listening, what day you're listening on. Welcome to the Synthetic Echo, where technology meets humanity. I am your host, Nathan Graham. I'm very excited for today. I think I say that every episode, and that's because it's my podcast. I'm always very excited for it. I'm very excited for today because we get to go on a little bit of a different angle. One of the things in the AI world, it is a very male-dominated space. And so you're going to find actually 90% of my guests are a male-dominated space. Well, not today. Today, my guest is Shakti Sharma. I'm having a horrible day with names. Shakti Sharma. She has spent over a decade in a data-driven world of corporate finance before leaving it all behind and becoming an entrepreneur. Today, she runs a feminine wealth movement, teaching leaders how to build and sell high-ticket offers. The premise of this show is ask how we use technology without losing our humanity. So Shakti offered to join here to explore a fascinating question. In a world of AI-driven sales and marketing, what is the value of truly human connection? Can intuition, trust, and authenticity still be a powerful algorithm for success? So that is the beginning. Welcome, Shakti, to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on the show and for allowing me to bring this diverse perspective to your audience, to your listeners. I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm looking forward to diving in deep with you today.
Awesome. So, well, let's get right at it. Tell us a bit about yourself, because I know we're going to go in a different direction, but I always find the story behind leaving comfy jobs to start businesses amazing, because anything fun and worthwhile takes usually a pretty big risk. And so I want to hear a bit of your story. Where did you start from? How did you get to where you're at today? And then we'll dive into the views around AI empowerment and all the rest.
Yeah, I think I want to start with summing up my story there. I recently read this quote from Tony Robbins that success without fulfillment is a failure. And I feel like I have known this all my life, and I have experienced it many times in my life. But I recently came across this quote, and I'm like, damn it, like this has summed up my whole life and my whole learning right here. Okay, so I want to take you with me to 2014. This is the time when I had just finished my MBA from University of Chicago Booth School of Business, leveraged that to transition into management consulting. And this was my dream job because it offered me the lifestyle that I thought was the freedom lifestyle. That means every Monday morning, I would pack my bags, fly to a client location, spend the whole week working there, stay at the best hotels, eat at amazing food at great restaurants, and come back home on Thursday. And it was great. It was everything you would want to have happen in your career right after MBA at a top school. And on the personal end, I was living another high. 8 months pregnant, a month away from delivering a baby, married to my soulmate, living in downtown Chicago, best life ever. And at this point, every box was checked, every goal was met. This was the dream life, given I was an immigrant woman. I came to this country, I came to the US just with 2 suitcases and $2,000 in hand. Self-educated herself. Like I went to Carnegie Mellon University, did not have a plan how to pay my tuition, but to like create a life from nothing, this was incredible. Now, it was wonderful. And at the same time, there was this one evening, sometime around March timeframe, My partner and I had a very silent disagreement. And when I say silent is because neither one of us like to yell. We don't like to like bicker at each other. It was just, it felt like he didn't agree with me. And something about that just felt so off. And it broke open something in my heart that I couldn't sleep the whole night. So
Hmm.
I was laying in my bed all night, tossing and turning. And next morning, I got up and just something in my body said, that's it, like go, leave now. And I had no game plan here, but I had to listen to this, like very, that visceral impulse sometimes you have. You just have to
Mhm.
leave the space. You just can't deal with w- how you're feeling. So I left the house and I checked myself in a hotel room, closed the door behind me, and I cried. And I cried and I cried and I cried the way a woman cries when she has finally found a space when nobody is watching her, where she does not have to anymore hold it all together. And this is, that feeling when you're just exhausted running around
Mhm.
constantly, you're exhausted just balancing everything and showing up tough and strong and confident, and now you finally have space where nobody's watching, nobody's judging, and you can put that armor all the way down and let your body just release without judgment, without questioning, and just let go. And in that moment of just surrender, there was this voice I heard, and it was very confusing, but that voice started to just feel very mysterious and magical, and it felt like a very motherly voice. It felt different than my own voice, and it felt like this voice had answer to all my question. And in my crying and in my tears, I was questioning a lot of things. Why am I hurting so bad? And this voice said, well, um, you're experiencing generational pattern from your parents' marriage repeating in your own marriage. And it's like the same wounds are experienced by different people. And that did not make any sense to me. So she started showing me these flashbacks when, as a child growing up, I had always seen my parents fighting. And it's like that memory was so strong. Now I have words to describe it better. Back then I just understood as, okay, well, this is all I know. I don't know a happy marriage, so this is what I keep creating in
Mhm.
my relationship. But then when I asked her, so that made sense. And then I kept asking her more questions. Well, I am so accomplished. I have achieved a lot, but I feel this like void in my heart. What is this? Like, I feel like I can't celebrate me, or I cannot see myself as somebody winning, as somebody who's made it, as somebody who's like worked so hard to get here and she deserves to be celebrated. And then she spoke the truth, which was, Shakti, to create success, you have abandoned your heart.
Hmm.
That means that is why nothing is feeling fulfilling to you. You did, you made your decisions, all these career decisions, not by honoring you, but because somebody else wanted you to do those things. And then these flashbacks came. Well, when you did your engineering, it's because your mom wanted you to do. When you came to the US, it's because somebody else has wanted you to come. When you switched to management consulting, it's because it was a thing to that you're supposed to want. And that is the moment where I understood how important it is to feel the fulfillment in your own heart by the efforts that you are making, all the hard work you're putting in into your career, and how it's not just about what you're doing, but it's about how you're feeling when you're doing it, and how you're feeling before it, how you're feeling after it. How do you look back on that action, on that experience, and see yourself as, damn it, that was so cool. So glad I did it. So this was a whole thing. In that moment, this voice has been with me ever since. And this voice has been guiding me on all my business decisions, career decisions, relationship decisions. And my mission is to really help remind people that you have access to this voice inside you. You have all the answers inside you, and there is nothing externally needed for you to really live your greatest expression, your greatest potential in this life.
That's a beautiful story. I don't even know where to go with after that one. So many places to go. You know what? I'm gonna ask you. See, the very first thought. Actually, no. I'm gonna initially go off the first thought. You started with the Tony Robbins quote. Did you get an opportunity to go to any of his Power Within or anything like that?
I have not.
You know, Walking on Fire is something else. I'm gonna highly recommend.
Have you done that?
Yes, I had the opportunity of doing it a few years ago, and you want to talk about a trip? I was never what you call a hardcore alcoholic, but I drank every day. Like I was a drinker, right? I wasn't getting drunk, but I was a drinker. And I actually went to Tony Robbins on a business trip to connect with people, and no idea what I was getting myself into. And you're like, well, you got to work on something. So I'm like, okay, fine. I'll work on my drinking. I want to cut back, right? So all the exercises you go through, I did with alcohol. 3 days later, and yes, you do legitimately walk on fire. Well worth it. Hot burning coals, weirdest opportunity. 3 days later, I'm flying out, and I think I had like 7 beer at the airport because my flight was delayed. I was chatting with people around me. We're all having a good time. And I don't know what hit me. I'm just like, why am I even doing this? That was over 3.5 years ago. I haven't drank since. And it was just something weird. I will tell you, Tony Robbins doesn't tell you how to think by any means, but he gives you the structure of seeing, like you talk about the potential and fulfillment and what these things are trying to accomplish. He gives you that structure of understanding. It's well worth it.
Wow. So Nathan, you had 7 beers right at the same time, and then you haven't had any ever since?
Yeah, no, yeah. I think I got to the airport at like 9 a.m. and I was vacation, Nathan. So you start early, and then I think I was supposed to fly out at 11. I don't think I flew out till 4 or something like that. So it was about a beer an hour, give or take. And yeah, I was 7 pints in by the time I was done, and I got that last one done, and I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. Boarded an airplane and haven't touched it.
You had this. You remember feeling this? I don't know why I'm drinking. Not that my body's wanting this, but I don't know why it's happening.
So ironically, now, because the type of personality I am, anytime something weird happens, I have to research it because I will talk about miracle stuff, but I believe there's science behind everything, which is a debate on its own, right?
No, there's science behind everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I always have to figure it out. And now I know how neuro-linguistic programming or NLP works. I now understand how cognitive behavioral therapy works and everything else. So I understand what Tony Robbins was doing completely through and through. And I understand why the patterns changed. But at the time, I had no clue. And one of the things you talk about with patterns, and this is kind of almost like, and maybe I'm reading too much into this. I could be way off on this, but it's just a thought that came to mind when I'm hearing your story. It's like you had a pattern that for whatever reason at one moment just broke. It was just like, for whatever reason, it was a pattern that was everyday life that was going on. You were feeling a certain way. You were responding and acting a certain way. And then I have no idea what would have happened in there, but it was just like that pattern broke. And that was kind of the same for me. It was just like the pattern broke. I saw the pattern. I just didn't want the pattern anymore. Now, maybe we don't verbalize it that way, right? But
absolutely. I think this was the moment of a pattern disruption for you and for me both. What's coming to me as I hear you talk about that whole like drinking 7 pints of beer is that you had made a decision at that event, but in order to bring it to completion, you had to just complete some part of it.
Mhm.
You had to like drink so that there's some agreement, energetic agreement gets completed so that you can release
Mm.
yourself from it and move on with your life. Same for me. The way my pattern wanted to end was to experience a level of pain, to
Mm.
feel, fully feel the pain of having this void, not knowing who I am, why am I doing it, all the things that I'm doing, why am I not able to be fulfilled? And then finally feel the pain to have this like visceral full body release and then move on from that.
Mhm. Yeah, my thought that comes to mind there is, man, it's easier to be the person you're told to be than it is to wonder who you are. And
Oof,
it's so easy to stay in that moment. And yet
oof.
it's a struggle when you go to search for who you are, but the end freedom, like everything worth doing is hard, right?
It's
And that decision that you made to go find who you are is far more rewarding, yet not nearly as easy as staying where everybody else wanted you to be.
yeah, that pain, oh my god. I feel like i feel like we're all suffering as a humanity.
Mm,
Most of us are in that pain of just not knowing how incredibly powerful we are, how
mhm,
every thought that we have, every feeling that we have is shaping reality every single second of our life, that there is no such thing as destiny, that nothing is pre-written or predestined, and we have opportunity to hold that power in our hands and to shape our life whichever direction we want to go in, to choose to live from a place of empowerment where we get to call the shots of our life. We get to have
mm,
dreams. We get to bring those dreams to fulfillment. And I feel like so many of us took birth, like chose this human life to experience that. And sometimes, we all fall in that pattern of illusion of, hey, if somebody just tell me what I need to do, my life will be easy. But it's gonna, everything has a
mm.
cost to it. That freedom, yeah, like living life on somebody else's terms has a pretty significant cost to it.
Well, it absolutely does. And it's interesting as you're talking, it's just right from I had this conversation with someone earlier today. He this was a brag. He was bragging to me. He said, I had this previous job. He's now an entrepreneur, right? And he's struggling as an entrepreneur. And he said, I had this previous job where I used to try to sit at the big boy table in the company, right? And my boss used to always say, you haven't made it. You haven't made it. Then he goes, after about a year and a half, my boss sat me down in the office and he gave me the largest file in the company, and I've made it. That's what he told me. I made it. He's like, that's what I'm waiting for in this entrepreneurial world, is to have made it. And I looked at him, and he was proud that this happened with his boss, but I couldn't help but look at him and be like, I wonder what would have happened if your boss would have given you that a year ago, a year before, if they would have taken the trust in you to go find yourself. And I find so much of life is either right now trying to protect us, like the people who care about us, trying to protect us from being hurt. So we're told not to go find ourselves because it's bloody scary to go face those things of the world. Or so much of our life is to be told that we're wrong, that your culture, even on a gender bias. I do a men's podcast. I can tell you, as a man growing up, so much of what young boys are is told that we're just wrong to feel the way we do, and that we shouldn't feel that way. So no wonder when they become adults, they struggle with finding self and who they are, right?
Absolutely. So I actually ran an experiment when I was working in corporate. I had this boss, I had this manager at one of the top banks in the US who is incredibly smart guy. And somehow every time I sat in front of him for my one-on-one conversations, I just didn't feel like he respected me. Like I had to like just work hard to earn his respect, earn his trust. And it used to annoy the heck out of me because I had a whole like career trajectory, uh, you know, under my belt to prove, hey, I am worthy. And I am smart and I'm brilliant. Have you ever had that feeling when you're with somebody and no matter what you
Mhm.
say, like you can say the smartest shit ever, but they have just made up their mind. Have you ever felt that? Like that
Oh yeah.
frustration?
Yeah.
Like, damn it, like I don't even care about you.
And I hate to say it, it's usually not even just a feeling. Like usually that's the way they
Yeah.
are. They just made up their mind and that's that.
Hey, whatever. But you know, there was this one option of leaving the job, and I had understood by then that you can leave the job, but you cannot leave a pattern.
Mm.
You cannot run away from a pattern, it'll find you. So took it as a challenge that I'm going to actually change this exact thing that I'm experiencing right now. I'm
Mhm.
going to turn this around. So, what I started doing is I ran an experiment for the next few months. It took me good 3 months to turn this around. And I would go in, we had a standing one on one meeting. So, I would go in and I would always go in with what I want to get out of that meeting.
Hmm.
And that means it's not even like I want you to sign off on a decision, not even to that extent, but to I want to experience recognition in this conversation. I want to experience respect in this conversation. I want to experience support in this conversation. Just very uh, open, broader intention I would take in. And then I would really like pay attention to how I was breathing throughout 30 minutes, not too long, 30 minutes. I would really breathe in my belly. And every time there was this feeling that used to come every single time. Every time I felt like I'm not respected for who I am, I would take a deep breath. And then I would remind myself, I respect me.
Hmm.
And then I would go back to talking to him. So I started managing this conversation. I started managing the outcome that I wanted. I started managing also how I feel every
Hmm.
single minute of that conversation. And naturally, it started also helping me to go a little bit more prepared in these meetings. And that means I'm not just like walking in, like feeling like, oh, lost and like I need to be rescued. Like I would
Yep.
go in with, hey, here's what's being done this week. Here's what I'm planning on doing. Like my game just naturally got better and better. And within a matter of 3 months, that whole relationship turned around. And my manager did not
Amazing.
have new words for some reason, but I just could feel way more respect in him, way more recognition of what I was doing. And it was incredible how this turned around. And that is when I realized something. I learned something out of that experiment is that what people are feeling and what their perspective is, what their thoughts are about you, what their judgments are about you, are not at all about you. They are
Hmm.
about what they are experiencing internally within themselves, have no way of reconciling them, processing those feelings inside of them, and all they are doing is to project it on other people.
Mhm.
And what somebody thinks about you or does not think about you is not set in stone ever. It is going to constantly change every single day based on what their mood is and how good they're feeling about themselves. And all you can do is to really keep being you and keep trusting yourself, knowing that the right people are going to be in your corner no matter what, and the people who are not vibrating at the same frequency as you are going to find their own reasons to exit themselves from your reality, and there's no judgment on that. That is a-okay.
Mhm. Man, okay, I love this. There's so many thoughts. So good. I wish I could encapsulate your mindset and just put it in other people's minds, because I was in real estate for years, sold houses, and we used to have a saying that you create the objections you get, right? So a lot of people in the sales world will be like, well, they always object about my services or my commission, or they don't sign with me. And then I remember in my younger days, I do all these open houses and I try to do the best things. And the one thing I always got back from people in open houses was, so how long you been doing this? Now, what they were really asking me is, are you new? Right? As if there's something there. And I got so sick of it. So what I decided to do is I took a couple of weeks. I checked the market stats every morning. I scripted so I knew how to respond exactly to that. I made sure I knew all the knowledge. I prepped so much for the open house, and I'm ready. Week 1, I'm finally now knowledgeable. I get back and I'm ready to answer this question. You know what question never came up again in my career? How new are you? Because there was something I was doing that was giving off this impression, which, number one, what I love about your story is you could have very easily stayed in a blame mode and probably been right. And you probably could have surrounded yourself with people that would have been like, Shakti, he's just an idiot. He just doesn't understand you, right? But instead, you didn't make it about him. You chose, but if I'm reading this right, you made it about, what can I do different here? Not that I'm doing something different to appease him. I'm doing something different because I don't understand it. I want to figure this out. I'm coming from curiosity.
It is. Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you so much for highlighting this, because this is that subtle point where you're going to make a decision whether you outsource your power in the form of judgment towards somebody else. That means power's gone. You put them as the wrong person doing something wrong, and then you have labeled yourself as a victim. Power's gone. The moment you're a victim, power's gone. It exited the conversation. But the moment you said, it's not about him, I get to dictate how I feel and the outcome I get to drive in these meetings, what am I doing? I'm bringing that power right back in the palm of my hand. And here's the thing about power is that up until the point it is escaping you, something within you in your world is going to keep poking you for it. So in your example, everybody will give you, will ask, everybody was asking you the question, well, how long have you been doing it? It's because something inside you was poking you, hey, Nathan, there is opportunity to hold that power back in the palm of your hand by doing the prep, by really preparing so well for these open houses, for really putting in some extra hours, really prepping the mind to handle all these different objections and questions and do all your due diligence. And until that point, people will keep they will come in your reality. They'll keep poking you. Hey, Nathan, did you do that prep?
Yeah.
Because we know you can have more power here. You can. So everybody, you think about it, everybody's playing a cooperative game. Everybody's helping out in a way to help.
I like that. Yeah.
Help Nathan climb up that power on that power pinnacle, whatever you want to call it, whatever picture works for you.
So what I love about this too, it's like, all right, so if you can't tell from behind me, I'm a major geek. I just look like an adult. Those are definitely lightsabers and Star Wars and everything. And I remember watching this Star Trek episode where this will all have a point, I promise. Where the Star Trek episode was where this young Vulcan looked at a guy and said, or Romulan, sorry, said, can you keep a promise? And the teacher said, a promise is just you being a jailer and keeping them in a cage. Right. So if I come up to you, Shakti, I'm going to tell you something, but don't tell anybody. Well, what I've just done in our dynamics without realizing it is I've become a jailer and I've put you in a prison by making you agree to this. Right. And I'm going to tell you another quick story and how this all comes around. And then I had this other moment in my real estate career where I had friends of mine, I was trying to sell their house. Now, albeit they bought a house, they did not listen to my advice. They did not listen to me, and the relationship went very south. But I made a commitment to them that their house would close, and their house would only close under one way. And that's if I paid off. I was going to make $12,000 on the deal, and I had to pay off their $10,000 car loan. So they bought this house. I had the money coming in to do this, but then they fired me as their listing agent, right? So I could no longer sell. And it was that very shady. It was very not above board. Again, did not take my advice around it. And I still paid off their car, even though someone else got the commission on the sale of their house. And people are like, well, you're absolutely crazy. Why would you do that? Because this aha moment hit me is I refuse to allow other people dictate my decisions. I chose to help them out beforehand, right? And so why would their actions between then and now change what I chose to do, right? And they might have went that road. And by the way, that got me more business, ironically, in the long run than anything. And then going back to that same prison, it's a new thing that I'm accountable for all my words. That if I'm going to open my mouth and say something, I don't want to be a jailer to you. I want you to have freedom. So sure, I would prefer you not to say something. That'll make my life a lot easier. But don't feel like if you mess up, I'm not going to blame you. And it all came down to self-accountability, exactly what you're talking about. It's like, you will not dictate my actions. I am making a decision on my own actions. And you're going in, this guy's making you feel uncomfortable. So therefore, you are responding a certain way. He is dictating your actions. And I love what you talk about with that power, because what did you do? You just took it right back. You said, you are no longer dictating my actions in this moment. I'm going to take control here.
Absolutely. And thank you for bringing in self-accountability. That's just wonderful. Yeah. Thank you for like honoring your commitment, even in this like business situation. I think there are very few people who can do that.
So I appreciate that. And I definitely did not tell the story for praise, although I will gladly take all the praise anybody wants to show at me. No, I agree. But then again, there's also a lot of people that are trapped in themselves and they stay there. And I see the unhappiness it brings. Like, as you're telling your story and you're talking about giving away your power, it's a power struggle because you can't change the other person. Like Shakti, let me ask you, how many relationships do you observe where people give their partner a bunch of power and then complain about it and say how unfair it is?
All the time, but there's a subtle distinction that I want to bring to this conversation. Sure. I feel like nobody likes to give serve their power to somebody else, but we are all kind of working in different systems. And there's corporate system where there are spoken and unspoken rules about it, about like how to conduct yourself, how to present yourself, how to be, how do you have relationship. I feel like these systems, and then there's marriage system, and then there's like girlfriend, boyfriend relationship, intimate relationship system. Then there's like parent-child system, and there are more, right? There are plenty more. But these systems kind of come in, and somehow, not that we are victims of the system, but somehow we get influenced to be able to fully fit into a system. And in that process, these slip-ups happen. So part of, I do relationship work too. Part of the whole process of transformation is not only changing your habits, but if the system is forcing you to stay codependent on your partner, for example, you not only have to reclaim that independence, that self-accountability, that empowerment, but you also have to install a new system in the marriage.
Yes.
Right? So that's really part of the work. Which is why I love this business system. Like, having a business means you have a fresh opportunity to create a new system that really works for you.
Well, the absolute cool thing about having your own business versus a corporate life is all your successes and what you do and what you create hang on you. The part that also really sucks is also all those successes and everything you create hangs on you, right?
Exactly.
Like it's both.
It's a good news and a bad news.
Step up. Well, no, I agree with you on that system point too, because I've often, not often, I should say, but when I was in my younger days, I fought against this idea. I used to think that I love a place, like whether it be a church organization or whether it be a job or whatever case may be. And I felt like it was my job to change it. Like, I love this place and I want to see it safe, so I'm going to go in and change it, right? And what a futile thing. And I started to learn, I'm going to go give my 2 cents on what needs to be done, and I'm going to encourage them to make change, but I'm not going to force it anymore. If they choose not to change, then I now have to make a choice. I either choose to stay in this system or I choose to leave it. And
Absolutely.
it's out of control. Now, I really hope in a relationship basis, and I know this isn't always the case, I just hope it's the case, that you have a partner that believes the same thing about the system and that you cooperate in, because I do agree with rules and boundaries and all the rest. And I just hope that you have a partner that agrees with whatever system it is that allows you both to be
No.
authentically who you are.
Well, are you married?
I am, yeah, 19
Okay.
years.
Do you ever
And I might have
experience
explained that horribly, but just to be clear.
do you ever experience where there are points where you both connect and then you go back and then you come back
Absolutely.
and then you go back? So what I have understood by seeing relationships after relationship and doing some really deep work on mine
Mhm.
is that it's never this, like, how balance sheet is always fixed in time. You look
Yep.
at like December 31st, this is how it will look like. But I've noticed that relationships are more transient and they're more moment by moment. Why? Because you're bringing two different ancestries together and
Mhm.
two different belief systems, two different baselines, two different permission levels, permission slips of how much love you can receive, you can experience. And part of when we come together, yes, we find alignment, but every time we come together, we also have to separate and feel kind of a little bit of that pain, a little bit of that longing, and do some deeper work to keep increasing that baseline for love, keep increasing that tolerance for each other, for
Mhm.
just that unconditionalness for each other, and then come back again with a new level of alignment. And I feel like I know, like, and this is the thing about data, right? Like, on the
Yeah.
outside, it's like, okay, divorce rate is like 50%, but I feel like there's more that meet the eye.
Mhm.
There's more of these. It's not just 50% marriages work and 50% don't, but in all the marriages, maybe 50% of the time we're together and then we are doing our work and coming together and doing our work, that kind of thing.
Right. Well, okay, so I agree with you, and then I might say maybe I explained it or did not articulate probably, because I 100% agree with you, and especially you talk about that in alignment, out of alignment. If you're not first of all, if you're not experiencing that, that'd be a very boring marriage. Could you imagine if your partner agreed with you all the time? Holy cow, that'd be so boring. Um,
I'll
one
be
of the big
fine
aha
with it,
moments.
Nathan. I don't know about
Well,
you.
yeah, I know
I'll
you'd
be
be good. I know.
totally okay with it.
I'm pretty sure my wife is overhearing me right now, being like, yeah, I know. You can at least agree with me 70% of the time. I think one of the things is that we learned is a lot of relationships go into it as almost like a 50-50 split, right? Like, so for example, let's just use this podcast as an example. Like, let's say maybe I go into it and I'm like, okay, Shakti, 50% of what we're going to talk about is going to be about you and promoting you, and 50% of what we're going to talk about is promoting me, right? And then we're like, okay, well, that we can make that work. Kind of weird, but we can make that work, right? And that's the way a lot of people operate. But then you might turn around and say, well, listen, I have a little bit of a fear here. So I'll tell you what, I'm actually willing to give you 100%, but that's going to be dependent on you giving me 100%. So if you give me 70, I'll give you 70. You give me 100, I'll give you 100. And it's a very fear-based relationship. And I think this is the way, I think most relationships will go off this 50-50 basis, which is a very hard thing. You don't realize you're trying to track it, but it's a very hard thing to track. And then you get some enlightened people that are like, oh, I'll give 100%, but I need to make sure there's a reciprocation. And then there was this third level. So my wife and I did life coaching for a while, and this is where we talked about this. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm going to talk about this as if I'm an expert on it, but I am by no means an expert. You do not live full time here, but you want to try to get to this point where you give 100%, even when your partner is giving 30%. Yet you hope that their goal is sometimes to give you 100%, even though you're not always going to give 100%. And you understand that sometimes you're both going to be giving 40%, or sometimes these imbalances are going to happen. Yet the underlying goal is, and kind of tying back to what we were talking about, you make the decision of what you want to be in a relationship, and you don't let your partner change that. So if you want to have the choice to be a loving and caring partner, then that's what you're going to be, regardless of what your partner is. Right now, I want to be very clear. I'm not talking about staying in abusive relationships. And I'm not talking about, if you have some people that are just takers. And it is my true belief that if you are with someone who's just a taker and you're giving 100%, get the heck out of that. Like you need alignment on some degree in how you view these life philosophies, right? But I think that would be a better way of saying it, is that sometimes you give 100%, even though your partner's only giving 20, because what you choose to be in that relationship really shouldn't be dictated off what they do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you make sense.
Yeah.
You make sense. And I also want to, I'm quite intuitive when I hear things and when I experience things. So I can see the work you and your wife has done over the years. There's a lot of wisdom that you're sharing here to step into that unconditional 100%. I have to kind of detach myself from what's happening around me and just focus on what do I have control over. And in that moment, you make a choice and you execute on being the 100% partner. So receiving that wisdom.
Yeah, I appreciate that too. And yeah, no, anybody who thinks a relationship, like honestly, I would never leave my wife now, because I would have to put another 19 years into somebody to be able to get to this point, and I don't want to do that. That's a lot of work. Yeah, I don't even know where to go from here. I've really like, what I'm really hoping is, what I love about what we're talking about. I know we really didn't talk about AI and technology and everything that we were going to plan on talking about yet. One of the things that came up when I was doing my research was about leadership. And I want to encourage people that leadership is the exact same thing. If you want to go be a leader of your family or of your company, you have to decide the kind of leader you want to be. And trying to figure out how to word this properly. There always seems to be a bit of negotiation in life, but you have to understand what your non-negotiables are, right? So as much as I like to pour into people and I like to give to people and I like to watch people grow, I do have non-negotiables in friendship. So for example, I try to be a very understanding person of circumstances go in life. But if you cannot be dedicated, if you and your spouse have an agreement to be dedicated to each other and you cannot hold on to that dedication, i.e. you cheat on them, to me, that's a sacred relationship that will now make me wonder how much I can trust you in our relationship, right? So I do have non-negotiables in a world, but yet they're very few and far in between. They have to be something directly related and directly connected. And again, to be clear, I've had friends who cheated on spouses who I do trust, because there's a story behind everything, but I'm just, as a blanket example, want to bring that up. But I hope leaders see this too, because I think leadership sometimes brings this ego that they have authoritative power that's just given to them, and they're taking it in wrong ways. And as a leader, it's almost kind of an interesting opposite reaction. Yes, you want to retain power for yourself, the way we talked about being able to make change, but you also want to allow the people around you to retain their power. Because when you do that, they will come up and be beautiful, beautiful things around you, and they will support you and lift you to higher places, right?
Absolutely. I didn't share this with you before, but I actually have multiple business brands, and one of them is Lead with Consciousness. And what we have done is we have taken high performance and put together a model that can be implemented in organizations called high performance team model, where we really dismantle how do you actually create a high performance environment in your team. And one of the big things that we actually talk about, this is something me and my partner, my husband, do together, but one of the things that we're championing is that most people talk about their team as good teams or bad teams, or their employees as at varying degree of performance. At the same time, none of this is related to the person you're talking about. It's related to a system, right? Kind of what we were talking about just a few minutes ago. And in the high performance team model, we start to definitely have the foundation as psychological safety. That means some of these non-negotiables and clearly defined non-negotiables on all different aspects, from the employee, from the leadership aspect, and which are clearly stated. And then on top of it, emotionally intelligent communication. How do you speak about bad news? How do you speak about uncomfortable things? How do you not avoid hard decisions? How do you go straight in them and use a way of speaking, a way of communication to communicate the truth, what needs to be brought forward? And then comes the innovation, the strategic vision for your role, for your organization, and then influence. How do you actually influence over others and, get decisions made and champion the initiatives and projects that you've signed up to lead in the organization? So I'm just sharing this out here because I feel like it's related. I also feel like it can be applied to many different facets, whether you are leading relationships or you're leading your family. I think this type of model can be applied there as well, with just some simple tweaks.
So I really want to respect your time, because we mentioned there was a time where we had a hard cutoff, and then we're coming up to that. So I'm trying to really respect your time. But what I do want to say, Shakti, first of all, I want to have you back and talk about that form of leadership, because you sparked so many ideas that we could probably talk the next hour for on. And yeah, so we're going to save that until afterwards. That'll be the cliffhanger for people to listen to the next episode. But if you are welcome to come back, and I'd love to dig deeper into that.
I would love to be back.
While I have you, I want to give the opportunity. Where do people find you? How do companies hire you? Because in a world, like, we didn't talk about it much, but anybody who's listened to this podcast, we are coming up to a very technological, automated world. And these sort of leadership cannot be given out to AI. It cannot be. And leadership is going to become a sacred and rare skill very soon, in my opinion, because a lot of people, we have a hard enough time finding good leaders now. Wait until we have this sort of technology backing a lot of it up. So services that you have and offer are going to be needed within families, within companies, within everything, far more than ever before. So how do people find you? What's the best way to serve you around that?
The best way is to go to this link, leadwithconsciousness.com.
Wow, I cannot spell at all. Let me put this up here. Ooh, that's a very cool background.
And I will put that link in the chat so you can use that. All right, there you go.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. All right. Shakti, you got 4 minutes before your next appointment. So do you have any final thoughts at all? Anything that you want the audience to take away from today? Or what's the lasting thing that you would love for them to get out of today?
Yeah, I think what might be just so exciting to talk about or complete this conversation with, we started this conversation with a Tony Robbins quote around success without fulfillment is a failure, right? And I want to bring it back here. I want to invite the listeners to keep asking themselves, in things that you are doing, what is the level of fulfillment that you're feeling in any given moment? And you're going to find it will be a lot easier to feel fulfilled when you start reclaiming your power back and back. And the step number 2 could be, where am I leaving power behind? Where am I leaving these power leaks open that don't deserve to be there? And that means you're really coming back to you with every decision of yours, with every action of yours, with everything you know in your brain is enough, and just really acting from that place and leading forward your next best decision is enough. And that is going to create success way faster than following anybody else's advice.
Amazing. I'm just gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for joining. Shakti, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you talked
Me too,
about.
Nathan.
I really do.
Thank
This
you
has been
for
so good.
having me. I had a blast just talking
Yeah.
to you. And I'm so happy we could just create something that was completely unscripted. This was not part of the plan, but I
No,
love
but this is
what
great.
we created.
I'm with you. And yeah, this is why I like to go unscripted. We will connect. We're definitely going to connect. Okay, everybody. I will see y'all in a couple of days on my next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in.
We're building tomorrow, but we're human today. Where technology meets us and ideas lead the way.
Business and connection, growth in every sound. The future keeps on calling. Can you hear it coming now?
Where human meets machine. Create it, build it, grow it, and shape what comes between.
The future starts